participants, Norbert?
I'm sorry, say again, please.
How can we see all the participants?
That's a good question. I'm having trouble with that myself.
Okay, no, I can see more now. I can see like 6.
Rola, you should be able to see if at the bottom of your participants, there should be like a little blue arrow. If you click that, you can just scroll down and see everybody.
Where is that?
Do you see participants in kind of a vertical bar? Do you see people?
Yeah.
And at the bottom, there's like a little blue V. That's how you can scroll down and see other people.
Okay.
Now, are we supposed to be seeing Herb Gillette's screen right now? Because Herb is screen
That's
sharing.
what I don't understand why.
Okay. Yeah. So Herb, just at the top, you should be able to say stop screen share.
Stop.
But Herb,
okay, now, yeah.
That's it. I don't know what happened there. All right.
No, but it's good. Great.
Norbert, you can set it up so that other people are not given permission to share screens.
Well, I thought I had done that, but obviously I didn't.
Yeah, okay.
So I don't know. Okay. I'm just looking to see if everybody is muted. Okay, I'm sorry.
But
so I just want to confirm that Debbie's on, correct? Can you hear me, Debbie? Debbie?
Yes, she can hear you. She's saying yes.
Okay. And Marganit is on? But she can't hear me. Okay. All right. It's a pleasure to have all of you on. My name is Norbert Goldfield. I'm the founder and executive director of Healing Across the Divides. For those of you, this is the first time when we had to postpone this year's study tour, which would have been over by now. We would have, I thought it would be a good idea to do this webinar, and this is either the 4th or 5th in our session. Next week will be our last one. We'll do it a week again from today, on Thursday, a week from today. And it's a joy to see you all. It's definitely an international cast of characters. We have colleagues in Israel, the occupied Palestinian territories, not just in the West Bank, but also in Gaza, who are attending today. I have a colleague friend from Italy. So it's just a joy to see you on. So today I'm having a little bit of, there we go, trouble with my computer, but I think we're okay. Rola, you can hear me, right?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, fine. Today we're going to focus on Palestinians living in Israel, and we'll focus on a project, a grantee that's in the South. I will present for a couple minutes, or probably less than that. Then I'm going to hand it over to Marganit, and I'll ask her to present. And Marganit is our Healing Across the Divides representative in Israel. Then we will have our grantee present, and there'll be 2 people from an amazing initiative that's being supported in southern Israel that is a joint farm between Israeli Jews and Israeli Bedouin. And then lastly, we'll have a woman who describes herself as a feminist restaurateur Rola Deeb, who will talk a little bit about her own background and the work that she does. When I asked Marganit if she knew Rola and her restaurant, she just laughed excitedly and said, of course. So the only thing that I would say to start before I introduce Marganit is I want to restate the mission of Healing Across the Divides, which is to measurably improve the health of marginalized Israelis and Palestinians through community-based interventions. So that's one way that we try to get into long-term, in a very long-lasting conflict, into peace building through health. And so I'd like to just give an anecdote, which is to say, I was organizing a meeting where we brought people together from the West Bank, from Israel, that were focused on diabetes, which is one of the most common chronic illnesses that's in the region and the world. And we are at that time supporting an Ethiopian Jewish initiative, a grantee, called Tene Briut. Two things about this initiative, this meeting. Number one, he had lived in Israel for 25 years. The meeting itself was in a town called Tamra. He had never been to Tamra, which is an Israeli Arab or Palestinian town in Israel, and even despite the fact that he'd been there for 25 years. Secondly, one of the grantees that was in the meeting was a group from the West Bank that we've supported for years called the Palestine Medical Relief Society, and they were also working on diabetes, and so we brought them all together. As just a quick anecdote, the head of the Ethiopian group said, you know what? I realize that all our problems are the same. And that's part of what Healing Across the Divides is all about, is trying to expose different groups to each other. But at a minimum, what I want to see, and what we all want to see, is measurable improvement in health. With that as a background, for a few minutes, I'd like to hand it over to Marganit Ofir Gutler. And she's a remarkable woman who I've known for many years, but has started to work with us at Healing Across the Divides just a few months ago. And she'll introduce, she's our representative in Israel. And now I'd like to hand it over to her.
Thank you, Norbert. And hello and good evening and good noon or afternoon, depends where are you at the rest of the world. So I'm really happy, of course, to be part of HATD. And I do want to bring some perspective or reframe a little bit the theme today, because I think when we bring together communities, we have some assumptions about what would be the relationship. And since I was a young director of a joint Arab-Jewish NGO 20 years ago, I think we went from what we used to call it as coexistence approach, which I think was really focused on doing things together and getting to know each other. And I was born in the Galilee, where you can almost find about half of the population are Arab and half Jews. So it's quite part of our environment, but still we're all in our own lives and don't get to meet each other and so on. So that was 20 years ago perspective, to get to know each other and to do things together. And then the second Intifada broke and everything became much more politically charged. And we had a very and deep understanding of the reality, which is not just how to know each other on a shallow level, but really understanding the political and also the daily challenges that our neighbors sometimes meeting. So I think what happened in those 20 years that passed is that many organizations actually came and started to do more policy level activities. We're trying not only to meet, I think it's not either or, I think it's a combination between joint activities. I think it's still important to know and to do things together, but at the same time to work together to promote policy change. And this is something that I'm doing now for I think almost last 10 years, when we established the Civic Forum to promote health in the Galilee. I just have had to leave a meeting now to join you. So I can tell you that people are now actually thinking how to meet the COVID-19 challenges in the Galilee. There are a lot of new sick people in Palestinian, in Arab Palestinian, in Israel, in the Galilee, in COVID. So we are really worried and thinking how to help those communities, how to protect them. So it's part of our life. It's more than just doing things together. It's also responding to challenging together. And at the same time, I have to say that we're thinking about different policy changes in relates to health, working with the Ministry of Environment. One of the things we just finished to do with other organization is to develop with the Ministry of Health a program just specifically for the Palestinian society in Israel, because there are a lot of challenges. So I think it's, Norbert, if to sum up with what you said, yes, there are lots of similarities between the communities, but at the same time, I can see that there are lots of differences as well, and those differences need to be addressed. And that's why I think it's so important to build a joint force and to really care about each other. I think that's what makes it really unique. People that working together for 10 years on a volunteer basis, most of them are coming from the health professions. So I think it's something quite unique and actually achieving a lot of goals as well. So thank you, and looking forward to hear Debbie and Imtisam and Rola.
Thank you very much, Marganit. So what I'd like to do is say a couple of administrative things. Is that I'd like you to be aware that there's a chat function. So I have everybody on mute. If there are any questions that anybody has, I'm looking at the questions as they come up. There have been some questions. You can send something to me privately or publicly. I can see everything. And then secondly, I think, though I'm not sure, that it's live streaming on Facebook as we speak. And lastly, we are recording it, and we will send out the recording to everybody on this page. So now what I'd like to do is introduce Debbie Golan and Elbi Dissam, who are the leaders of the White Farm Initiative, which is in its second year. And I just want to hand it over to them, and tell me when you're ready, Debbie, that you want me to show either the video or the PowerPoint. Thank you for being on, Debbie and Elbi Dissam.
Hi, Shalom. Hello to everyone. I'm very nervous. I think that it's important to give a little bit of a context about the unrecognized villages of the Bedouin in the Negev. There were originally 7 towns that were set up by the government for the Bedouin, formerly nomadic people who were forced into a kind of sedentary settlement. And as they're making this very, very challenging transition from nomadic lifestyle to sedentary lifestyle, there are a lot of issues that still haven't been settled. The government has not finalized the Bedouins' right to the land. So a lot of the Bedouin, the estimates go between 65,000 to 100,000, are living in what's called unrecognized villages. It's clumps of illegal settlement that the people who live in them, their homes are in danger of demolition, and because the rights haven't been settled, so their rights to the land and to making their houses legal haven't been settled either. And in most of these villages, it's not the ideal village you may have in mind from America, like, you know, the little central common ground and houses around and stuff. These are really separate clumps of settlement. I think we'll look now, Norbert, at that. There was a piece on Israeli TV that I saw, and Marganit saw, and she thought it would make it really concrete what we're talking about. the unrecognized villages have no, because they're not recognized, they have no infrastructures of water, sewage, electricity. In some cases there are water, but not on the same level that we're used to in our homes, turning on faucets and all the time and water pressure, etc. And a lot of the villages also don't have any cultural, educational infrastructures. Rahma, the village around Yerucham, I'll show you a map afterwards, is unusual in that a lot of the municipality of Yerucham helped the residents of Rahma connect to the water company. And I think Norbert will just look at, so you can see the movie from the TV, those few minute or so, less than a minute. Can you show it now? Or maybe I can do share screen, or you can do it. This is a piece about the problems of coronavirus crisis in the unrecognized villages, where it's very difficult to keep anyone in isolation from anyone because the conditions are very crowded and very, very poor. Is this working, or shall we move on? Norbert?
Okay. Are you still there, Debbie?
Yeah, I'm waiting for you to share the movie screen.
Oh, you know what? I thought I was showing it the whole time. My goodness.
No, I didn't see anything.
Okay, well, that's good to know. Let me just see. So I was watching it and no one else. There you go. So let me just try it again. Hold on a second. I'm still learning, and I'll be learning the rest of my life. Okay. All right.
If we can't see it, then maybe just Ibtisam will share with us, as someone who not only works in an unrecognized village, she's the kindergarten teacher.
Here we go. I'm sorry.
She also lives in an unrecognized village.
No, I'm trying to figure out how to share it at the same time, and I'm not doing it. But hold on. Try one more time, and if not, I'll just forget it. How about if we go to Ibtisam? I'm sorry.
Okay, Ibtisam, תשתפי איך זה גם לגור ביישוב לא מוכר וגם לעבוד ביישוב רחמה.
זה כמו לצאת מחושך, כאילו מאור לחושך.
It's like light for darkness.
זה, קודם כל אני אדבר על עצמי, שאני יצאתי כאילו באזור מכפר מוכר, שזה כפר לקיה, והתחתנתי ליישוב לא מוכר, זה היה ממש...
שנייה אחת. I myself came originally, my family is originally from Lakia, which is a town, a recognized town, and then got married to someone, and we moved to an unrecognized village.
וזה ככה גם לצאת לעבודה כל יום וליישוב לא מוכר, פשוט לכאן, כאילו, כל הנסיעה הזאת לעשות, ובסוף נעשה את הכניסה מכביש ראשי לדרך העפר, שזה דרך כאילו קצת ארוכה, שזה כאילו 5-7 דקות, להיכנס לגנים, בורות, דרך שכולה בורות.
סליחה שנייה. What Ibtisam is describing is how difficult it is to drive from the unrecognized village where she lives on dirt roads to the kindergarten of Rahma, which is a recognized Ministry of Education kindergarten in an unrecognized village. And the roads are full of walls and pits and yeah.
וגם בימים גשומים שיש גשם, וזה פשוט אי אפשר להיכנס לשם בגלל הבוץ. וגם אי אפשר להסעות שמסיעות את הילדים, להיכנס להביא את הילדים לגנים בגלל העניין של הבוץ.
Okay, רק שנייה. Ibtisam says when it's raining, like we had a very, very rainy winter, it's impossible for her to drive through because her car gets stuck in the mud, and the drivers that bring the kids from the very dispersed slums of Rahma cannot get through because of the mud either. So a lot of lose days, and she sometimes can't reach the kindergarten that she works in.
וגם לפעמים שאין מים ואין חשמל, שזה גם סיפור בעצמו.
Sometimes she says we don't even have water in the kindergarten or electricity in the kindergarten. That happens also.
וגם הכי שונה זה כאילו מכפר שהוא מוכר לכפר שהוא לא מוכר. אנשים שבכפר לא מוכר הם פשוט, כאילו מבחינתם זה אין לימודים, כאילו הנערות לא יצאו ללימודים, לא ילכו למכללות ולא לאוניברסיטה, הם ילמדו עד גיל מסוים, ויותר הם שומרים על מסורת.
What Ibtisam is saying is that what she finds, one of the contrasts between the recognized and unrecognized villages or towns are the unrecognized villages, the population is a lot more traditional. Education is not something, a lot of the girls don't continue to higher education. There are about 16 students now in institutions of higher education from Rahma. But there are 1,500 people in Rahma, and that's not a very high proportion. It's also more traditional in other ways, like letting the women folk come to the farm, which is something that we thought would be a possibility, but it wasn't. את רוצה להוסיף עוד משהו?
גם שביישוב לא מוכר, שחסר שם שחקייה לילדים, מגרש כדורגל, ספרייה, קופת חולים, כל הדברים הכי חשובים חסר להם שם. זה לא כמו בכפר מוכר.
Okay, in unrecognized village, there are no playgrounds, football fields, soccer fields. Games are things for the kids to play on, cultural institutions for leisure time activities, and that's the situation there. If anyone has questions, or maybe we'll move on to speak about the project that HATD is partnering with us in. Norbert, you want to show the first slides?
Yep.
If we're able to do it, if not, then
do my best.
Let's see if I can do it. Can you see this?
Here? Oh, okay, you're doing it.
I just tried it for the first time in my life.
There you go. So if you want to start. Wonderful.
The White Hill Farm, here the first slide shows you, this was a piece of desert that the municipality, it was a dream that our Bedouin neighbors and Jews from Yerucham had for about 5 years now, that we started discussing the possibility of having a place where we could raise vegetables and connect with each other and learn about healthy lifestyles, but also connecting to nature and responsibility for the desert that we love and share. And in June 2018, I'm talking about a group of residents of Yerucham called Mirkam Ezolis, a citizens group, and residents from Yerucham, including the head of the residence committee, the chair, Alda Zanun. And we got the municipality of Yerucham to give us land, which you can see in the first slide, and then also water. They pay for the irrigation. And the inauguration was with our, at that time, Mayor Michael Biton and Alda Zanun planting a tree together. And You can see that the kindergartens came. These are kids from Rahma kindergartens planting vegetables at the farm already in the fall after HATD Bamidbar, the nonprofit that I'm co-founder and president of, started. I'm going back to a slide where you can see all of the red are the clumps of settlement of Rahma according to different clans around Yerucham. The dark patch on the left of Yerucham is I don't know if this thing here, I don't know, can you see? I don't know.
Yeah, you can see it.
The town is here, so Rahma sort of surrounds Yerucham on 300 degrees. And this yellow spot here is the future Rahma. There's a plan to make a recognized town, and all of the Bedouin from the different clumps of settlement are willing to go there and to make and to say something that I was going to talk about later. The school for Rahma children is going to be, it's already located in the site that the original plans had for Rahma. The only thing that prevented Rahma from becoming a recognized settlement is that any new settlement needs a government decision, and none of the ministers of agriculture who were in charge of Bedouin settlement brought it for a government decision. It passed all the planning decisions. These are just some of the pictures of the life at the farm, where what we decided when we saw that it was very, very difficult for cultural and logistic reasons to bring women, for instance, Jewish and Bedouin women at the same time to the farm to promote family plots. We brought kindergarten children with the idea that at the early ages, if we break down stereotypes and create opportunities for getting to know each other and also teach about healthy lifestyles, it can affect also the parents and the families. And just to show you cauliflower, zucchini, tomatoes, all of the signs of the vegetables are in Arabic and Hebrew. These are pictures that Tisham sent me of shakshuka and healthy breakfast with cauliflower and tomato casseroles and things like that. And all of the pita is with whole wheat flour. The farm is a venue also for other activities. Maybe I'll just say that it's part of a wider context of deep collaborative ventures that have developed over the past 15 years between Rahma and Yerucham residents. And in HATD Bamidbar, we opened an incubator for Bedouin Jewish initiatives, a Good Neighbors Network in the Negev, spreading the kinds of projects that we were able to do in Yerucham and Yerucham, the Rahma Yerucham Women's Group, which is also, thanks to HATD's inspiration, has become something that maybe I'll show you a picture here. We meet 6 times a year, about every 2 months, to share supper. It took us a few years to find a cultural niche that we could share with, that could enable the Bedouin to come, or to us, or for us to come to them in a culturally acceptable way. And we've been introduced with local women physicians and Dr. Ziva Stahl from the Ministry of Health, things about that are health related. I'll give you another thing that we did with Ziva is healthy cooking workshops. A few we've had at the farm, and others we've had in different Bedouin women's homes. The focus there, the Ministry of Health wanted, this was for them the first pilot to work with Bedouin women in unrecognized villages to understand what their diet was like and how they were, how they could become healthier. Because I didn't mention, but diabetes and heart problems, cholesterol, and the women also complain about obesity, about anemia. All of these things are health problems that are, unfortunately, in Rahma. And Yerucham, as a small town, about 11,000 people, but very low in the socioeconomic ranking of Israeli settlements, health issues are also very challenging. And in the kind of intimate ambience that we were able to create over several years working together. The health issues have really been critical. Dr. Ziva Stahl spoke about brucellosis, which is kadachata. The importance of boiling milk and also not eating processed meats. Listeria, we had a terrible outbreak a while ago. These are things that, and anemia, she also spoke about, and these are things that both the Bedouin and the Jewish women all relate to, and we're appreciative of it. This I showed you. The Good Neighbors Network is something that goes in other places too. So any information that we get and the kinds of pilot programs that we've been able to develop, also with the help of HATD, we are now sharing with our neighbors in Arad, Tel Arad, El Fura, and Bikat Kanaim, Mitzpe Ramon, Wadi Aricha, Abde, and Wadi Chaba, and more. We're also Ras Jarba and Dimona, and trying to promote things in Ramat Negev and Bir Adaj. And here, the idea is what Marganit was saying about, it's not just acquaintance, it's also actually collaborative projects leveraging the advantages that the Bedouin have, because they're there and they understand what their needs are and also what their constraints are, and what the advantages of the Jews, and they know their community, and the advantages of the Jews have, which may be better access to policymakers and to different bureaucratic aspects that are sometimes really critical for quality of life. The struggle that we did to have a kindergarten in Rahma also started some years ago. It was only when we took it to the High Court after 2009 and 2010 that in 2011 the kindergarten opened, and there's just a little lending library that Ibtisam was able to open. And now, 4 years, when we saw that we as our Bedouin colleagues and friends and the Jews of Yerucham, when we saw that getting the town recognized wasn't going to happen, we said we have to do other things that will help our Bedouin neighbors and bring our strengths together. So opening an elementary school for 370 kids from 1st grade through 8th grade. Some are Ibtisam's former students in kindergarten. There's other things, economic development, that we work with a lot of Bedouin women. We opened a sewing center that they called the Ajram, the desert flower called the Yafut in Hebrew. I should just say that now with the coronavirus and the terribly crowded and poor and problematic in terms of sanitation conditions in the Bedouin villages, Yael Agmon, you saw her standing in front of the school because she worked extremely closely with, this is Yael, worked with Auda, the chair of the residence committee of Rahma. That's him here with our mayor Tal Ochana and former mayor MK Michal Biton. He and Yael and a lot of other people, right, were instrumental in getting this school to happen. And Yael became now with Ibtisam, maybe you can add a few words, a real important nexus, is that the word? Junction of transmitting information. At first there weren't a lot of materials available in Arabic, and now, thank God, there's a lot more. And I'll say one more thing, that even though it's a crisis, a national crisis, still there were one department in the Prime Minister's office was doing overturning, plowing up of planted wheat fields that the Bedouin raise for mainly their flocks. And we were able to stop that in the Good Neighbors Network, with joint action of many of the groups that we work with together regionally. And when even some demolition notices were pasted on houses in Rahma and other places, we were able to enlist the police to stop, to negate those notices and to put pressure on decision makers so that that wouldn't happen. Even the Authority for Settlement of Negev Bedouin came out with a statement that in this corona crisis period, it's not the time to, you can't tell people to stay at home and then threaten to demolish their homes. So
thank you, Debbie.
but that's something that I think one of the main messages I wanted to show you is that the farm is part of a sort of ecosystem of a lot of positive changes and collaboration that we're working on. And maybe just end with something from today that our mayor just published for residents of Yerucham, 4 of her goals that she has developed with the Homefront Command and the National Emergency Authority. And one of those 4 goals is supplying Rachma residents with dry goods so they have food. There's really in people's minds here, and we're working together from the mayor down through the municipality and then a lot of citizens groups and volunteers to listen to what needs are coming up and see who can help. Yes.
I'm gonna have to ask you to wrap.
I'm sorry.
That's okay.
That was my last words, that I think that there's tremendous challenges that are cultural, logistic, because of the dispersion of Rachma. So getting to the farm is an issue, and that's why transportation is crucial. So there are a lot of issues and challenges, but there's a lot of commitment to working together and making this place help grow good neighborly relations and real collaboration and in a deep level, as well as healthy lifestyles.
Thank you, Debbie.
Influencing, other circles.
Thank you, Debbie. So I want to thank Debbie, and I want to thank Ibtisam. Unfortunately, since she can't speak English, so we're going to pass on. And I want to, if you can somehow, by some miracle, exit out of your presentation, so that's perfect. So now what I'd like to do is, first of all, again, thank Debbie and Ibtisam and the whole group and the White Farm. The one thing I want to say, and I would like you to pass this on, Debbie, to the mayor, because everybody needs to know that initially the project was supported, we were supporting a different group. And what happened is that all the plants one day were stolen, everything. And so, but the mayor's office stepped in and paid for all the replanting with a fence and water. So if you could please pass it to the mayor, my heartfelt appreciation.
Toilets also, and a little shed to store materials. Yeah, definitely. I would definitely.
So now what I'd like to do is.
Thank you for HATD's support.
It's been a joy working with you. What I'd like to do now is introduce Rola Deeb, who I first met her many, many years ago at this point. So we've gone through 2 different transitions. One was when I knew her when she was the executive director of an organization, of a feminist Palestinian organization based in Israel called Kayan. I still remember the conversation where at that time we had a joint partnership with the Cleveland Jewish Federation. And when we sent her a notice that we were funding her, she called me and said, Norbert, you need to know that we've never received funding by any Jewish organization. And then she, quote unquote, graduated from Kayan and started.
Not organization, federation.
Say again?
Jewish Federation, I said.
Jewish, yeah. And graduated from Kayan and started a restaurant, which is one of the most famous restaurants in Israel. And so I thought it would be nice to, for people to get a flavor, because we try in the study tour to go to her restaurant every year. And so, of course, we can't taste her food this year, but with luck, and some political leadership by people who are not skilled enough today will be able to be with you next year. So I want to thank Rola for joining us, and the floor is yours.
Hi, good evening, everyone. Good afternoon. Thank you, Norbert. Thank you for inviting me, and thank you for connecting with each other. Actually, the first time I met with Norbert was in 2006 during the second Lebanon War. The streets were as well empty. We met in a restaurant and it was empty as well, and was a very terrifying period. It lasted about a month. And today, we're all globally going through kind of a similar experience of being closed at home, and everything outside is empty. Nobody's I know I'm sure you're all experiencing this as well. That's why we recall all these memories from the last war about 14 years ago. I came from a village called Rami. It's not far from you, Marganit, actually. I grew up there in Upper Galilee and then moved to Haifa and joined a feminist group called Isha Isha. Isha Isha is a feminist organization established in '83 by Jewish women, mainly Jewish Ashkenazi women. And it's quite a leftist, radical feminist organization. And I had the privilege to join this group for about 5 years. Maybe I'll give you like a kind of short background about Haifa. Haifa, there are about 280,000 inhabitants. About 9% to 11% are Arabs. And Haifa is quite, among other Israeli cities, towns, and villages, I think, in my opinion, it's the most normal and sane place. It's not only in Israel, in my opinion, even in the whole Middle East. And I think it is the most safe place for women as well. As a liberal woman, I think this is I feel privileged to live in Haifa, and the relations between Arabs and Jews are quite normal. It's not. Maybe I'm generalizing a bit, but just want to give you a short background. It's not detailed, of course, but comparing to other places, the relations are normal, and people you can see in different places, Arabs and Jews together in one space. And that's quite like very normal scene. Comparing to Tel Aviv, sometimes it's not. Many Tel Aviv people say, wow, they come to Haifa and they're quite surprised to see that Arabs and Jews are sitting together in public places or private places. And Haifa is well known as a feminist as well, a feminist city. The feminist groups are very strong and very progressive, and the interaction between Arabs and Jews, I think, impacted on the relations between the feminist groups. Kayan is a feminist organization that was, as Norbert mentioned, granted by Healing Across Divides, and it's been founded in '98 by Arab feminist group, women, and we got support by Isha Isha and other Jewish organizations in establishing Kayan, and that was I think this experience only happens in Haifa. Or there are, I don't know about any other experiences where Jewish or Israeli feminist groups supported establishing a Palestinian feminist group in a way that the Palestinian group was supposed to take the grants from the Isha Isha, from the Israeli group, and establish its own organization. And thanks to that, to the support of Isha Isha, Kayan had a very good start. And thanks to many organizations, European, American, Jewish organizations as well, we got a lot of, not a lot, but we got budgets that helped us in promoting very critical issues like health and transportation in Arab villages. That's in general. Actually, I made a shift in 2012, like a 180 degrees shift to be self-employed, and that started as a mere accident with my spouse. We started a restaurant, a cafe in the beginning, and it was based in on the Carmel in Haifa. Carmel, I don't know if you know Haifa. The Carmel is a Jewish mid-class neighborhood, and we just started kind of. It was kind of humor. How do you say humor? Risk. We just took a risk and started this this cafe, and in a way we couldn't. It didn't work in the beginning as a cafe. Because we actually continued kind of a project that has been run by other people, and it manifested their identity, not ours. And I think people saw that and didn't believe in that we were bringing ourselves into this enterprise. And we lost everything there. And later we had a meeting with a reporter from a newspaper called Haaretz. He just came to visit us in the cafe, and he asked us a few questions that were very straight and were very kind of shocking. He said, "What are you doing here? And why are you insisting on the Israeli white mid-class identity for this place? I think you should bring your identity to this place, and that's how people will interact with you." And when I was asking him, "How do you expect us to open a restaurant, Arab restaurant, in an Israeli white mid-class area? It's I feel like I'm coming, and that won't be accepted by the people." And then he said, "Are you telling me that you are feminist and you work for promoting equal rights, and still you think you can't open a restaurant in this area because it's kind of a mainly Jewish area? I think you should go and make how do you say, shore bite, like check well with your activism. I think you should work hard on your feminist and equal rights activism." That was one of the shocking and strong political lessons that I've had. It took us like a few months, and we said, "Okay, we're gonna open this restaurant. It's Arab restaurant with Arab food that we're good at, and and our identity, who we are, which should be actually brought to this, to the menu, to everything, and the music, the food, and how do you say in English? We say in Hebrew, the rest is history." It started from there. Sometimes I feel like laughing but crying because it was quite a very challenging area. I was in the beginning like frightening. How would people interact with the music even? I mean, with the Arabic music, with the menu, but This experience actually was very empowering to us. I remember once a director of Keren Avraham came to visit us with his staff. That was 2 years ago. And I told him, wow, I miss the NGOs and the civil society. Here you're working on political aspects and issues, and I'm working with food. And he said, Rola, I think you're doing as well. You're not doing less political work. You're bringing Arabs and Jews to this place, and this is quite a very good thing by itself. And you're bringing in a way, the food. Talking about food, it's not only mere food. It's not only eating and enjoying the food. In Israel, you can't, everything you do is political. If you want to even like serve hummus, it's political. The way you wrap it is political. Even the Arabic music and the place and the restaurant is political. The kind of Arabic music is political. Everything is political. And it's not that I'm trying to, to say, well, I'm working on political issues. No, I'm saying that it takes us even to think about the music, about how you write about the food, and how do you serve the food, and how you talk about the food, how you describe it. It is political. In that sense, I think it's very, sometimes it's risky, and sometimes it's tricky, and sometimes we need to manipulate, and sometimes you can't manipulate. You have to be real. It's a whole life in this restaurant, bringing Arabs and Jews together in this place. You're all, of course, invited next year to come. We have good food and nice food and tasty and healthy food. Just and thank you. I'm not sure. Did I say everything? I usually plan to say other things, and then it's not what okay, we're fine.
Well, I think if anybody was wondering why I would ask, in fact, Rola asked me, well, why are you having me, speak? Well, I think, I think you all know now why I asked Rola to speak. And, but I think we're also fortunate that we had Debbie. You heard from Debbie Golan. You heard from Ibtisam. We heard from Rola. And of course, from my perspective, most importantly, you heard from Marganit, our wonderful Israeli representative who really keeps everything together. We have a couple minutes left. If there are any comments, I'll be happy to entertain them. Or if there's any last comments from anybody, I'll be happy to entertain them. Debbie, Ibtisam, Rola, or I got some nice comments. Thank you, Rola, et cetera, et cetera. Any last comments that people want to text me? While you're texting me, the one thing I want to say is an anecdote, which I don't actually think, Rola might not know this story, which is to say, her successor is a woman named Rafa. And so we continued to support them for 4 years, Kayan, that is. And so Rafa came to the United States and spoke. We usually have people coming to the United States from the different grantees, and she spoke in Cleveland, which is a pretty right-wing Jewish community. And Rafa, as you know, as Rola knows, is a very strong woman. She's great. Her father was the mayor of a town, so she's very political. She's political in her own right. And I was wondering how it would go, with her presentation in Cleveland. I thought there might be sparks that might fly between the right wing in Cleveland and Rafah. And I asked the host in Cleveland how it went, and he said it went amazingly well. And then I asked Rafah how it went, and she said, you know what? You know, if we had leaders like them in Israel, we could do business. We could have peace. So that was the interaction between the right wing in Cleveland and Rafah. So that's just one example. On the other hand, Kayan did amazing work, you know, improving the health of literally thousands of women in northern Israel. And Debbie and Ibtisam are doing similar work. And of course, as somebody who was born in Italy, I consider food to be absolutely critical. And I'm actually very excited about tonight. Tonight, I'm not eating matzah anymore. And of course, as somebody who's born in Italy, I'm going to eat pasta with a homemade sauce that I made myself. Marganit, Rola, Ibtisam, any last questions or comments from you, any of you? Okay, well, in that case, I'm going to unmute you all.
She's actually on this.
A hand.
That's how much it costs.
Yeah. Thank you all.
So there was a question here that I'm going to.
It sounded not good. Nothing's good. Same bad last evening. She's going to call to see if they get her test.
So there's a question that was asked right at the last second. I'm going to ask it to Rola. As to Haifa, what are the factors that contribute to the normal relations that you described? But before you answer, I have to unmute you. So if you don't, oh no, you're unmuted. Are you still there?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm not sure I'm giving the right answer, just interpretation, personal interpretation. Haifa actually attracted most of the Arab community actually left Haifa or was forced to leave Haifa in '48. And later, under the state of Israel, it attracted many villagers, many people from the villages who were seeking work and who wanted to go for education, higher education. The feminist groups in Haifa, for example, they're all very rare situations are from Haifa. Most of them are from the villages in the north or around Nazareth or from the center. And the communist, it was a center of the communist actually party who attracted many Arab intellectuals. And that was the center of their, I think, their political and social life. Maybe this explains why the relations between Arabs and Jews. On the other hand, Haifa is known as well as a red city because the trade union, it had the highest rate of members on the trade unions. So Arabs and Jews, that's another explanation. I mean, I'm not a historian. I don't know why. Debbie, maybe you can add something, please. I mean, this is, again, it's not grounded on any historical or sociological.
Marganit, you have just a few second comment because we're at 1 o'clock. Do you want to comment at all?
Yes, I just want to say that Shatil, the NIF initiative, was doing a lot of work on Haifa to promote Haifa as a shared city, the concept of Haifa as shared city, and many different parts of Haifa was participating in this long process. And now actually Shahira, that was leading this project in Shatil, she's going to be the vice mayor. It's divided into 2 sections, so she's the one that in the second cadencia, but she's about to become the vice mayor very soon. So she's really promoting this perspective also at municipality level.
By the way, since the 40s, there's been always a vice president, Arab vice president, vice mayor, sorry, in Haifa. It's amazing. It's the third city in Israel, and it's always had a vice mayor. And the book, how to say, no, Jacques Khouri, okay, doesn't matter. Khashav Hairia.
Accountant.
Accountant, yeah, of the cities is Arab for about 15 years. It's quite it's amazing to think about it in the context of Israel. Yeah.
Well, within that spirit, since this gives me an opportunity, so I'm going to unmute you all, and we're going to have some applause.
Thank you all.
Thank you so much.
Bravo.
Thank you very much to all, and we're going to stop. And don't forget, a week from today at 12 o'clock, we will have our last session. Thank you to everybody.
Thank you.